welcome to Schoolnet Data Reporting. Happy November. Um, this is our session for November, and we're going to have one every month through the rest of the year. This is the bit.ly that I have put in the chat for everyone for today. See, there we go. And welcome. So my name is Rebecca Stokes. I'm the Professional Development Specialist and Schoolnet Product Manager for NCDPI. You have my email right here. And we also have a special guest with us today, Catherine Simone. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Catherine Simone here from Pearson. Happy to be here on the call with Rebecca today.
Thank you, Catherine. All right, let's see here. Okay, so just a few WebEx housekeeping things. So if you have questions, just enter them in the chat. Only panelists can see your questions, and you can change it from everyone to just a specific person if you'd like. I am going to be monitoring the chat so that we make sure that you get all of your questions answered. And please interact with us during the webinar. You can unmute and ask us a question. Of course, we do not discourage that. We welcome all questions or comments or things that are working well for you. That's the point of these webinars, is for you to have an open space to be able to ask others things that they're doing, or just questions for myself and Catherine. So please, please, please ask us all of your questions. We are happy to answer them. So during the meeting, you'll see something that looks like this. So you can unmute for any time you want to talk to us, or you can just click in the chat right here and be sending your questions through that as well. We do have a guide to WebEx linked right here, because I know that not everyone uses WebEx. I'm new to it myself. And it has a few things that are different than Google Hangout or Google Meet, which is what I was used to. So we do have that linked here for you if you have any questions about WebEx. All right, and for the CEU questions, just wanted to go over this at the beginning. So you will get 0.1 CEUs, which is equivalent to 1 hour of credit. 10 hours of credit will equal 1 full CEU. For participating in the live session today. The type of credit is going to be approved by your school or district when you follow up with the approval process that your district has in place. You can provide written justification of the type of credit that you are requesting approval for, but just know that each school or district retains the right to approve or deny all credit types, including DLC credit. And how will you receive your credit? Well, so anyone that is logged into the live webinar, I will get a report of all of your email addresses, and I will be emailing you a certificate of completion within 5 days. It'll be sooner than that. But after the webinar is concluded, and I'll send you that certificate of participation, and then you can use that for your CEU process that your district has in place. In case anyone asks you, we do record these and I edit them to put on YouTube, but no credit is given for watching the recorded webinars. You have to be in the live session with us. So anyone that is listening to me right now, that includes you. So you are in the live session, and I'll be sending out that certificate to you. All right, so our agenda for today, again, this is just specifically on data reporting. So we're going to be talking about student profile data, the power of the homepage, pre-formatted reports in Schoolnet, and then we'll be talking about the reporting dashboard, with prior year data, comparison reports, and subgroup data, as well as data scenarios, and then we'll wrap up talking about some upcoming events. All right, so I know that we're going to be bouncing back and forth between probably the training site and this presentation. So if we stop and share screen for something else, just know that that's what they're doing. So Catherine, do you want to take this one, or you want me to take this one?
Sorry, I was going to the training site and lost my WebEx window.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
As I said, I am not a WebEx person. Let me go back here. Okay. I can start with this one if you like.
Yeah, and I
Um,
figured that we would be interrupting each other the whole time, just having a conversation of like, "Oh, and this." So, yeah, feel
no
free.
problem. I just wanted to make sure my training site was up and ready to go. So, okay. In the student profile, just a couple, actually, everything that comes into Schoolnet from PowerSchool and everything the student does within Schoolnet is housed in this page for each individual student. So the first tab, the student overview that is in the screenshot, gives you a quick view of contact information for the student, and program information. What is not in the screenshot falls below that, and it gives us, excuse me, the student's um, current schedule within PowerSchool. Say that for lack of a better word. So whatever is synced from PowerSchool nightly will show up here in this page. Um, for this particular student, and give you their teachers. Um, is there a way I can share? Can I take the share, Rebecca, real quick?
Yeah, and so I can stop sharing, and then I believe you can take over.
Okay, let me make sure. Yes, I believe I'm in the right
And
screen.
while you're doing that, I just posted the bit.ly for the presentation for the people that have just come in. So that is in the chat.
Okay, and I apologize to the audience because I am much better in the live site than a PowerPoint. So sorry about that. I'm in the training site. That's why there's a lot of scrambled stuff in here, but this is the same student profile. And from here, we can see the student's current academic record, all the courses they're taking. It'll let us know over here which marking period or semester they're in. Any grades as they're posted to PowerSchool are also synced here to Schoolnet. So that's all visible on this page. At the very bottom of the page, it gives us a current academic year performance for math and ELA. It basically takes the last test that they've taken, and lists, while the training site is only listing one standard, it usually lists the strong standards and the weak standards for the student, and their percent correct on the last particular test. And that's all found in the overview tab. The standardized test tab would be if we were, well, this is from a long time ago. We have not loaded EOGs in a while, but when those are loaded or any external data, I think we mentioned it meetups if you happen to be with us during that week, that any other external data providers, their data could be loaded to Schoolnet, and that would show up here under the standardized test tab. Um, we don't pull discipline, I don't think, for North Carolina. So the next tab would be the enrollment and academic record. And what's kind of cool about this is you can go back and see basically the student's history, from the first time that they were in a North Carolina school and enrolled in Schoolnet. The grades here, you can go back years and you can see grades from previous years. So this is kind of like a teacher's friend one-stop shop for the student. Again, this is the training site, so there's a lot of scrambled information here, but definitely is useful. Um, I think the only programs we pull is AIG, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so this is the history of that um, student being enrolled in that program. Their benchmark test summaries, and any place you see this show filters means you can go back for as many years as the student is or has had tests within the system. So the benchmark tests would be school or district tests. And then we have the classroom test here that a teacher would have administered. On the last tab, the learning plan and teacher's notes, this is a nice feature if your LEA chooses to use it, but you can basically include narrative information by clicking on any one of these gray bars to provide information about the student. So, how does this become a report? Well, you can take anything in any of these tabs and go up here to create PDF. And you can select the options. I'm just going to click randomly here, all subjects. I can do classroom test. You can get as detailed as you like or not detailed. But this will create a PDF report for this student based on your selections in the wizard. And you can determine and you can use this as either a parent communication or any type of school meeting communication where you need to provide documentation or evidence of the student's learning. But you can see this particular page, because I randomly selected things, is 8 pages long. So I can choose as little or as much as I would like to export in the report. And then it's printable and transferable if you like that way. So there's definitely some cool features in the student profile. If that is something that is of interest for you to use. Was there anything I missed that you had in your, let me go back to your WebEx because I
So
did
I
go.
think I answered all of the chat questions because someone was asking about EOG scores. And so just anyone that's not in the chat, we are trying to get that data from testing and accountability. So we are working on it. It's just a little bit of a process, but I'll keep you updated on whether or not we can get that data. And someone asked if it shows all grades for students or only grades for Schoolnet. So just again, anyone that's not seeing that, it does show the students' overall grades that are posted on their report card, like you could see in the student profile where it showed semester one, semester two, but it's not going to show individual grades that students are getting on things that aren't in Schoolnet. So you'll still be able to see all the
Correct.
Schoolnet scores, but it's just going to show those overall like report card posted grades for students.
Correct.
So perfect. Okay. All right, let's see here. Now we're going to talk about the power of the homepage. So, Catherine, since you're already in the testing site, I'm kind of like you. I would much rather work off the live site, but I'll be happy to talk about what all is on the homepage if you don't
Nope.
mind just
Go
showing
ahead.
it.
There we go.
Perfect. And then can you scroll down just a little? Thank you. Okay, perfect. All right, so when you first log into Schoolnet, this is going to be the screen that you see. At the top where I had asked Catherine to scroll down is going to be any news updates that we post about Schoolnet, whether it's release notes or updated version, anything like that, that's going to post in that news widget at the very top. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the report bank where you can easily pull some published reports that you've already had, as well as your calendar. But the most used things, and Catherine, of course, if you think that anything needs to be said, you interrupt and put
Hmm.
something in there, okay? But the most used things, or at least the most used things that I use as a classroom teacher, was the classroom assessment monitor. And then right above that is the My Classroom widget where you can choose the different courses that you teach. So, for example, if you are in teaching in an elementary school, you're going to have something for whether it's math, science, ELA, social studies, like all of the different classes that you teach. Again, these are syncing from Power School, so it's going to pull all of those things and it's going to show all of your sections. So you can go to the My Classroom widget there and change your sections to whatever data it is that you're wanting to look at that particular time. Um, Below that, you'll see where it says reports, planner, material search, and assessments. So the reports, that's going to take you to the reporting dashboard, um, which is actually what we're going to be talking about here in just a little bit. But with us being in the testing site, it's going to say that there's no benchmark test found. But let's see if we can change it to somebody who might have
Yeah,
something in
that's what
there.
I was gonna look at to see if I had another teacher. Oh, grade 3.
There we go.
Got one.
Um, so when you click on reports right underneath your section, it's going to take you to your reporting dashboard. That's going to list all of the assessments that you've given. And then you can click on each one and get to all of the data for that as well. But can we go back to the home page?
Sure. Can I just point out one thing here on that
Absolutely.
reporting? So when you come in from this way, and I always like to do a quick check like this, but instead of the test results tab here, I like to use the student reports tab, and it will give me a student list right away. Um, for the particular students in my class. Now I have the ELA class picked. I could change that. I think this teacher probably also, nope, she doesn't teach math. Never mind. But I can go to grades. I don't know why that is coming up there. But you can see the most recent grades for the student. Um, it will give you a quick list of uh, comparison of columns of the recent benchmark assessments, and then a quick um, maybe I don't have enough tests here for that one for a student analysis report, but I don't have it. Doesn't look like I have enough tests there. Um, but just know that this tab is here so that you have a quick look at your students. Let me go back to the home page and we are still, so let me see if I can switch that teacher real quick. There's my third grade teacher. Does she teach math? Yes, she does. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm back.
Oh, perfect. And so it looks like she doesn't have any district or local test.
No, you know what? I thought that was the third grade teacher, but I'm trying to find that third grade teacher I just had. Oop, reading one, two. Didn't I just pick a third grade teacher? Was she at the top here? I'm going to a different school. Maybe this one only has third grade teachers or second grade teachers.
And you guys wouldn't have this problem because it's only going to show the data for
It's only going to show
your
your,
classes.
I found a fifth grade
There we
teacher.
go.
Perfect.
That's perfect. Perfect. Thank you. So one of the great things about Schoolnet is that there are multiple places to get the information that you are looking for. So even though the classroom assessment monitor right here is going to show us some of our data, you can also get to that exact same data from the reporting dashboard that we were just at. So this is just kind of it's on your homepage. It's easy to get to. It's easy to see. But just know that there are multiple places that you can get to the same information. Um, so in this classroom assessment monitor, the very first tab is always going to be your district and local test. But right beside that is any of your classroom tests as well. And then the standardized test tab beside that, and then your test management, which is going to show any of your tests that you have coming up that are in progress or completed. Um, so we're going to actually focus on that district and local test one. Perfect. So all those bright colors are going to come up, and right above that, you can see where it says September 1st, 21, and it's got that science. So that's going to be the title of the assessment. But if you click that blue arrow down right beside that, I'm sorry, Catherine, I'm just like
That's
my
okay.
finger around, then you can change your assessment to any of these other ones that you've given. So that's where you can change the assessment, but we're just going to stay on that one since that's the one that was already chosen. And the first thing that's going to show is this score group comparison chart. Now, this does depend on the amount of data that you have so far. So if only one student has submitted the test, then this is not going to show all of the colors just yet. So we have 14 student results, so that's why we can see this circle here showing us that our Average percent correct is 84.5, but it also to the right of that is going to show our section data where you can see the yellow, green, and blue, and then our school and district data since this was a district benchmark, excuse me. And then can you scroll down just below that? Perfect. So it's going to show all of our score groups in that color code above it that just lets you know, like if it's blue, then that's a range of 90 to 100, and it goes through all of those. Perfect. Thank you. And you can see that there's empty check boxes beside each one because you can check one of those and it'll automatically filter your students to just focus on that one score group that you selected. I always like to look at all of it overall first before I focus in on the individual score groups. But also, right beside that overall performance, you can actually sort by the standard as well, um, based off of the standards that were on the assessment. So, like this one that she just chose was the NP2, I think. So, it's going to show the student scores just on that one standard from the benchmark. And let's see, I'm going to pause really quick because we did have some questions
There was one
in the
question.
chat.
Yeah.
Let's see. And that's exactly what we want you guys to do. So please have us pause and we can check these. Um, let's see. Okay, so Matt Love, I know exactly what that issue is. After this is over, I will send you an email if you want to put it in that chat to me. I can send you an email of what the issue is. That's a common issue, and I know exactly how to help you. Let's see. So, how do you get the color codes that you were talking about now? So, the color codes are going to be just on the homepage. They are, if you scroll down from your homepage, they're going to be in that classroom assessment monitor widget. And on the right hand side, she scrolled down underneath where it says, or right beside where it says reports, and you should be able to see those color codes. Can you scroll down for me, Catherine? Just perfect. Yep. So it's just going to be right underneath there. Um, so it's not a very large rectangle, but if you scroll down, then you'll be able to see those color codes. And when we show these data reports from the other view, then you'll see those there as well. And someone asked, can you change the color bands? I believe the answer is no, but Catherine, help me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe
So
those are set.
these bands are set um, on the state site. However, let me just switch real quick and find a test. Any random test. When you give a test, and this is the test detail page, by the way, just a reminder. And I go to the downloads and resources tab for this particular test. Of course, this one's not going to show me because this is a district test I don't have access to. There is a way to change that. See if I can find one that will let me do it in this site. If not, I'll jump to a different site and do it real quick. Change these two. Wonder if these are all restricted. All right, give me a second here. Let me just log
And
in.
someone said that they thought it was under test settings. They put that in the chat.
Uh, I don't believe it is, but let me just grab a test that I know belongs to me from someplace else. Sorry. Show you. Sorry. Second. Too many passwords. Yeah. All right. It should be settings. Is it there? It is. I apologize. I wonder if it was in the training site on that one and I missed it. You should be able to edit it here. Thank you, whoever said test settings, and I didn't remember that it was there. You can
Thank you,
override the
Michelle.
cut. Yep, you can override the cut scores, but you cannot change these color codes and the number of the color codes there are. So in the past, I have done everything from mark like these all zeros if I only wanted to have four at the top, change them for like a raw score conversion, like made like a ratio out of it and then figured out what the transfer to the raw scores was. But this is a place where you could adjust it. So if you didn't want the top range to be 90 to 100, you could change this, save, and now my cut score for this band is 94. So that's the only place that there's the option to change. You don't get the option anyplace else because it sits within a state site.
Perfect. So I want to make sure I was understanding correctly too, because I'm learning as well. So you change the cut score, but it's still going to show 90 to 100, even though you changed the cut score to 94, correct?
Um, in the summary, yeah, it.
Okay.
You know what? I have not, be honest with you, I have not done that in a really, really long time. I will jot that question down and confirm, and then Rebecca can get back to you on that one.
Oh,
Okay.
that was me, anyways.
Oh, okay. Right. I have not played with that in years, so I will do that.
Nothing like asking in the middle of a live session, right?
That's okay. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
If I
All right.
wasn't sharing my screen, I would have figured it out already.
Yeah, I know. You're awesome. Okay. Now I've got to try to remember where I was. I think, can you go back? Can you scroll down to the classroom assessment monitor again for me?
Mhm.
And then scroll down to where we can see the students as well. Perfect. Okay. So in Schoolnet, anything that's blue is hyperlinked. So we have a list of our students all right here. So just know if we were to click on that student, then it's going to take us to the student profile that Catherine was showing earlier. So it's like what I was saying, where you can get to the same data multiple places. So you can go to the student's profile just by clicking on the blue hyperlink for that student. But since we have this sorted just by overall performance, it's going to give us a list of all of our students. It's going to show us their score, how many they got correct out of how many total questions there were, their score group, and then it's going to show the bar graph on the right-hand side, comparing all of the students. So this is all going to be at a first glance on your homepage, for all of your data. You just have to change the test that you are wanting to look at. Can you scroll back up for me?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Um, oh, still in the classroom assessment monitor, but can you scroll back up to where we can see that overall?
Oh, this scroll. Sorry.
Yep, sorry. So right beside that score group comparison, you'll see where it says reports, and it's got things like test summary, standard analysis. Those are all hyperlinked because they're blue, and it's going to take you to all of the different data reports. Before we start talking about one of those, Catherine, is there anything you can think of that I missed on the homepage?
Uh, no, the only thing that I was going to bring up with this particular screen that we were looking at here is that this basically creates a bar graph for the students' performance in life science. And this is just a graph of their most recent test that they've taken. And if you hover over, it'll show you the name of each of the tests. So that's, I mean, it's just a glimpse basically there. Um, Honestly, I do like to just take the test, and this is an easy way to get to the test summary. So just like Rebecca said, there's probably 3 or 4 ways to get there, but you could use your classroom assessment monitor and click test summary, or you could go to reporting and you could go to reporting dashboard and you would get to the same place. So,
Mhm. And test summary is actually the next thing we were gonna talk about.
okay.
So that works out perfect.
Do you want me to use this method or the classroom?
Whichever.
This one?
Whichever
Okay,
is fine. Yep. Okay. All right. You wanna take this one? You wanna take turns?
sure. So when I navigate from the classroom assessment monitor, I'm navigating as a teacher, just to be clear. And I'm coming into this screen as a teacher, and these will be because I've the teacher selected, the class is selected, and all of these reports will be teacher based for classrooms. If anyone on the call is leadership, and you navigate by means of the reporting dashboard, and you haven't already selected a school or a teacher. In this case, I'm in the training site as a district leadership. So if I haven't navigated to a teacher, then I'm going to see all the tests for my entire LEA. And when I click on any one of them, I'll be in the same test summary. However, these reports will focus at the district or school level, not at the teacher level. So there's a distinct difference between the user and how the navigation is proceeding there. A leader, someone with leadership, can drill down to the teacher level. A teacher cannot go up to the district level. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me go back to our teacher. She was here, or he was here, and I think it was this one, and I got a fifth grade one. Perfect. And I went to reports, and of course, now I don't have section, that science test. So the one thing to point out why I because I don't know who this teacher is and why I'm having trouble navigating is because if, for instance, you are a middle school teacher, and in this case, this teacher's class has taken, I'm guessing they took this science test, and I had the math section selected. So as the teacher of a class, even if my students go to Rebecca for science, I can still see the results of my math students' science test. So, all right, back to the teacher, back to the school, back to the science test, matter and energy. In the test summary, uh, we already mentioned we have the score groups, we have the percentage of students um, that scored within score group, and then we have the raw count, and then the score range there. From here, I have lots and lots of options, but let's just scroll down a little bit. I get the list of students, I get the date and the timestamp of when they submit it. Um, the proficiency was set up here, so it's telling me if they were proficient and what score band they fell within. I can export a student response report here. You could choose all kinds of stuff here, but I'll do it real quick. And it's kind of like a quick strip that you can cut out for the students. It's going to download, and um, I like to say, oh, well, this is something you can send home with the students to get signed by the parents, or you need a record of their answers, but you can see the dotted line here. So student one, test, number of points, percentage, score group, um, how they answered the questions, and whether they got it right or wrong. So all that is a quick printout that you can that is available for, we'll say, parents at this point. So that's here, export student response sheet. That's the first thing. Um, if for any reason you are someone with leadership and this test was scheduled to 500 students and you wanted to check, which sections haven't tested yet, you can use the collection report. I'm in a teacher account right now, so it's really just going to show me here's all the students that complete it. And someplace in this long list, I think it said there was one student that didn't complete it. Fun fact, although this does not have anything to do with reporting, if you go through the collection report, you can, as a leadership, someone with leadership, you can open up the Proctor dashboard for the test. Okay. So that is one way. Sorry, I threw that in. That didn't belong in this presentation, but just making sure. Get back to my teacher reports. Oh, now I'm going to pick a different test this time. Body systems. Okay. So I've already exported my response sheet. I checked who didn't get to take the test yet. Everybody's favorite. I'm going to jump right to the middle here, the item analysis. And as this teacher, I get to see all of my students and every question on this test and whether or not the students got it correct, incorrect, the standard alignment. Let's hope this was one of this teacher's tests, and it should not be taking this long to load. Not sure why. Maybe she did not administer this test. See if I can grab a different one. Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm answering some questions in the chat.
Oh, good. I think because I have way too many screens open. Let's try not doing that this way. Of course, then it could be the WebEx that loves my computer so much. I couldn't get to anything all weekend for my computer. Oh, of course. Okay.
And I can share mine and I can get into the training site if I need to.
Okay. Give it one more try. Kill it and start over. Oh, no, no, now it's just going to be my computer having fun with me. There we go. Great. Try again. All right, I might have to defer to you, Rebecca.
Yep,
I'm sorry, and I'll me in the chat.
no problem.
It
No
is
problem at all.
not going with me here.
All right. So I'm going to just show a screenshot first because we were talking about the item analysis. This one was my favorite report as a classroom teacher because, like she said, you get to see the breakdown of each individual question. So I'll go to the training site as well, but I just wanted to show you because it does take a minute for it to load that this is what it's going to look like. So it's going to give you a blue hyperlink to each of the questions here. And as long as the privacy or security rights are not restricted, then when you click on any of these blue hyperlink item one, item two, and so on, it's going to show you the question for the assessment. It's going to give you the section-wide percentage right below it, the primary standard, and then how many points it was worth and what the correct answer was. And below that, it's going to list all of your students and it's going to give a green check if they got that question correct. And then it's going to have a red letter of what they chose saying that it was incorrect. And it'll also show the time it took on that question. So you can see just from this screenshot that this student, I'm not saying they got it correct because they spent 5 minutes, but they spent 5 minutes on it and got it correct, whereas this student spent 20 seconds and got it incorrect. So that can kind of help you analyze why a student might have gotten a question wrong as well. Um, but let me pull up.
Oh, and the good news, my training site is up and running now.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
maybe it was
Well, I'll.
because I was sharing my screen, so I can go back and share that real quick. And if it
Okay, of
stops
course.
moving again, we'll just go from there. So Rebecca already pointed out, although this one doesn't have the timestamps in it, what I like about this um, is that I can go up here to order by, and right now the item analysis is in question order, but I like to order by primary standards performance or percent correct. So if I do by standards, what I get to see is all the questions that were aligned to the P22 standard, and then the P21 standard. And the lowest performing standard goes first. But now I can see, okay, there were what, 5 questions, and on all but one of the questions on this standard, my students did fairly well. I can, again, anything blue is a link. I can click on item 25 and open it up. And then from here, I can say, wow, what really stumped my students on this question, and move forward that way. So there's a lot of other capabilities within this report. You can sort the columns. You probably can't see on the share screen, but there's a little up and down arrow next to each of these columns. So you could sort the students low to high, high to low. And every time I'm sharing my screen, it just does not want to play with me. And the minute I click out of share, it's going fast. Sorry. But here's my sort screen, so I can sort my students high to low or low to high. And that's another nice feature within this report for the item analysis.
And I really
I
liked being
also,
able. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
nope,
interrupt
no,
you. I'm
you're
so
good.
sorry.
You're good.
I really liked being able to see, like for item one, for example, the entire column. So then I could go through, and if majority of my class missed it, then I could click on item one. I could reread it, because when you're creating the test and then when you give the test, it's, it could be 2, 3 weeks. So you don't necessarily remember all the questions that you added to the assessment. But then you can look at that and be like, okay, was it a vocabulary word that stumped the students? Was it a complete misconception of the topic? And you're just able to really break down the question to see what misunderstandings your students are having. So I really liked that. But there was a question, I want to make sure that I am correct, Catherine, that if they click on the item and it doesn't show the question, then it could be that the test has restrictions because it's a secure test, or because the test author gave the test restrictions on those questions. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I
Correct.
wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yep. Yep. That is correct. Side note, while Rebecca was speaking, I did confirm that if you do change this uh, custom group scores that I was showing earlier, and I said I'd have to check that, it does change the range in the summary report.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yep.
perfect. Thank you for testing that out.
So I didn't do it on the training site, but I did it on a different computer, so no one could see me do it, and I was busy doing it over there in the background. But I had changed these numbers, the 88.9 and the 89 here, and in the cut score of the settings, and it does change the score range when it shows up here. So just to let you know. Right?
Perfect.
All right.
All right.
So go ahead. Which one's next?
As I think we skipped over standard analysis.
We did.
So
We
I want to
skipped them
go.
all because I like the item analysis the
Yeah.
best.
Um, excuse me. So standard analysis is really going to only be beneficial if there are multiple standards on the assessment. So if
Correct.
you are if you're giving a math test, science test, whatever, and it's just on one standard, then this report is not really going to help you in being different from any of the other data you're going to get from the report. But if it's a benchmark test like this one, and if there was multiple standards tested, then this is going to be a great report for you, because you can see the bars at the top, and it's going to show you the score groups. And if you hover over it, it's going to give you not only the standard, but how many questions on the assessment were aligned to that standard, and then what the average score was just on that particular standard. Um, and then below that, you'll see where it says students. And um, as a teacher, you're only going to see your students anyways. But if you are in leadership, then you would be able to see the school and then the teachers and be able to drill down further. Um, but you'll see their overall score, but then you'll see their scores on each standard, which is really beneficial because you can sort by standard and just look at each standard one at a time and be able to see, okay, these first four students, they got 60% on this standard. So I really need to focus on this standard with these four students in, a separate group or whatever. Um, let's see. So we do have a question that just came across in the chat.
Mhm.
If you create a test using items that you created that are not from the Schoolnet item bank, you'll still get, they're asking, are you still going to get all of these same reports, granted that you tag the item with standards? And the answer is yes.
Yes, you absolutely need to tag with standards, otherwise you won't be able to administer the test. And yes, all these reports are the same whether you create the items or you use the item banks.
Mhm. And just like Catherine had mentioned before, you can export all of these reports. So you can see on the right hand side where it says export to Excel. Um, so that's always a great thing to just throw out there. But you can also sort by subgroup if you wanted to. That's another tab right beside student if you wanted to sort that way instead. But I always prefer just looking at the overall student to be able to really see each individual student, what they scored, and then per standard. Let's see. I think
So let me just point out there real quick because I'm sitting in a leadership account, and if there's anyone with leadership permissions on the call, this same report, um, I clicked back to the school, and here I can see in this particular school, there were two teachers that administered the test. I can still see the performance across the standards. I can click the down arrow next to each teacher, and now I can break out the sections and get a clear look at, um, you know, basically which sections need more assistance with individual standards. So I can do it that way if I want. Okay.
perfect. And we had a question in the chat, which is actually going to lead us to one of our reports that we were going to talk about in a few minutes, but we can skip ahead and go ahead and talk about it. They were saying at the district level, is there a way to aggregate several tests? So I'm thinking this would be the test comparison report.
Yes. Did you want to finish this piece out first, or let me go back to that teacher. Sorry, because I should have stayed there. Teacher. Okay. Did you want to finish out the teacher reports?
Um, yeah, we can do that. Yep. So, Michelle,
Okay.
we will talk about that in just a few moments.
Yeah. So we
All right.
did the standards analysis, the item analysis.
Let's
Um,
see.
since we're
So
on standards, I want to jump to the standards mastery. Is that okay?
that is perfect.
All right. So I'm a teacher. I'm keeping the same test. I'm gonna jump to the standards mastery. And on this particular one, I can see, and again, it works best on tests that have multiple standard alignments. But I can say, okay, let me go down because it looks like this P2-3 standard. I have a lot of students maybe in some of the lower score groups. So what I can do here, again, everything blue is a link. I can click on any of these blue links that are in the row for this standard. And when I click on it, now my students are sorted by their performance on this particular standard in this test. So I have ready-made instructional groups from that particular report. Just to tie back to the previous uh, standards analysis that we were talking about there. Similarly, I'm a teacher and I go to the trends report, and this is going to be hard to reproduce in the training site, but I will totally give it a shot. I'm this teacher. I'm looking at life science at fifth grade. I have no idea which tests she administered, but let me just see if I can make some of these work. You can line up multiple assessments, and these probably don't have, I don't know what these tests are, but I'm going to hit go. I got 6 tests in there, and go. Yep, there it is. So it puts the tests across the top. And like I said, I probably wouldn't be able to mimic it in the training site because I don't know what tests. But what would happen is if there was a similar standard alignment on um, each of these tests, they happen to be different topics, it would post the percentages across each test. So basically, we would be looking at, let's say, and I apologize, I know a little bit more about the math than I do about the science, but let's just say I'll keep with the science, and I was doing forces in motion. And I gave a quiz first on Newton's laws, and that tacked on one standard, and then I gave another quiz on motion and another quiz on friction, and then finally I give my test. It would, is assuming there were similar standard alignments, it would show the percentages across multiple tests. Kind of similar to the comparison report that you are going to run, that we're going to show you in a minute at the district level. This is an option for the teachers, and that is the trend report.
And can you
Um,
scroll down really quick, Catherine? Underneath each test, you'll also see a blue hyperlink for the item analysis that Catherine was just talking about and the test detail. So that's another way to get to those same two reports from the
mhm,
trend report.
right. Um, a key thing that tells me that I didn't pick tests that had multiple standard alignments is this last column here, because this is tapping into the science domain, and it's telling me that I only tested it once. So if there had been multiple tests, it would show 2, 3, 4 for ecosystems, etc. But I didn't see another one that was. They're the same test, so I didn't see one that was for this particular teacher that was different, that would have had the same standards alignment. So, we did this one. We
Let's
did
see, we've got
speech.
summary statistics next.
Okay.
And man, it's already 4:25. Good
Oh,
gracious.
all right. We should jump to something else. But these, we pretty much showed you the favorite ones. I like this one is just more, the summary statistics is a column type of report that gives you the raw score, percentage, score group, proficiency, percentile, quartile, NCE, stay and standard score. A lot of statistics on this particular test for each student. Um, Jump to the comparison report from here.
Yeah, that would be great. And someone asked, and so they're saying the student groupings only happen in the standards mastery report, and that is correct. That is where you're going to get
Correct.
those student groupings is from that standards mastery.
Yep. Okay, let me see if I can find a test that. All right, here is this body. I went back to my district level account, and I want to, let me see if I can do math. Maybe I'll get some common standards if I focus on math here. So I am at either a school or district level, and in order to compare, I wanted to pick tests that hopefully have similar standard alignments. So there are 4 third grade math tests here, and I'm going to choose all of them. and I can click compare assessments. And I can decide up here with the check boxes if I want to keep the average score, the raw score, the percent proficient, and the score groups. The more you keep in, the bigger the report is and more scrolling. So that's entirely up to you. But just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to keep everything. I'm going to generate my report, and it does just that. It takes the 4 assessments and gives me a little bar graph you can hover over, and you can see the comparison at the school or district level. I get to see all the teachers, and the first section is talking about the average score, the raw score. Like I said, I have to scroll, and basically I'm comparing each class. Now, this is fine if you're just looking for the end results of the scores. You can change the tabs here and change them to raw score or proficient or score groups to compare the tests. I prefer the standards comparison report. And here I can look at there where, let's use measurement because there are all 4 tests tapped into the measurement standards. Okay. And if I am looking at that, I can use this chart here. I like to go down here. I can open up that measurement domain. I can see the individual standards and click each one and open it up. So there's solving problems, etc. But I can see there are multiple assessments, and then if I want, I can click this little icon, and now I am focused on all of the tests. Okay. I'm isolating my measurement and data domain, and for PLC instructional purposes, I'm meeting with my teachers, I'm the coach, and we are going to talk about planning instruction for measurement and data. And we already have these 4 tests, so we're planning for our next unit or review of these standards. If I am the teacher, I can use this report as the teacher. Similarly, what you saw when we were in the teacher's account, instead of saying teacher 1733, you're going to see a list of students and the students' scores on those particular standards that we've selected. This has a lot of functionality to it. It's best to take tests that you know that we're covering. That's why I picked ELA is an easy one because you usually have multiple reuse of the same standard over a couple different assessments. Math, as long as you're sitting within the same domain on the test, it works well. You can't compare a science test to a math test. Let me just say that out. So that's where you kind of have to have some similarity of the standards to get this to work. Anything you wanted to add to the standards report, Rebecca?
No, not to the standards report. I think that was good.
Comparison report, sorry,
Yep,
my
that's what I
mistake.
meant. Sorry, comparison. Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
All right,
And there was just
next.
one other thing to show right here, actually. If you wanted to view prior data, so we're at the reporting dashboard, and in the top right corner, you can see where it says results reflect, and it's going to default to enrollment at the time of the assessment. But if you wanted to view previous data, then that's where you can change that as well.
Yep. And ours happened to be wiped clean this in the training site. The production site is not, just to be clear. So,
Let's see. Okay. Well, Catherine, do you mind if I take back the screen?
no, not at all.
Okay. All right. So that was the last report that we were going to talk about, and it's 4:32. So we are already keeping you past the time that you agreed to, 4:30. But just wanted to wrap up and say that I'm going to speak for Catherine and myself that we are thankful for you. We are thankful for you joining our session today on data reporting and hope that it was beneficial and that you were able to get some things from this that you can take back to your classroom or to your school if you're at the school level. Um, so again, we thank you. We do have some Schoolnet resources linked in the presentation. We have a link to the training site here. Any of our training videos that are on the DPI YouTube site are going to be linked here. Some courses that you can take in Canvas, and then some quick reference documents that we have for just the most common things that people are looking for assessment creation, the different item types, math formulas, co-authoring, accommodations, how to get those in. So these are all quick reference documents that are linked, but all of our resources from past presentations and then all of our quick reference documents are all going to be linked right here. And that's in that presentation that I put in the chat with that bit.ly. But upcoming, so this was November. So December, if you are a district that has opted into Transcend, December session is going to be for Transcend 101. January, we're going to be taking it back to the basics of Schoolnet for anyone that needs a refresher or is new to Schoolnet. And then you can see February, March, April, and May, all of the sessions coming up, and you can register for those just like you did for today's session. But that is all that we have for you today. Thank you for letting us keep you a few minutes after. And Catherine and myself are going to stay here for a few moments for anyone that has any questions. But thank you so much for attending. And yes, Melissa, I definitely can do that. But for anyone who does not have a question, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next session in December.